This is Terry Kurtz online reporting on Victor Valley, High Desert, and Mojave River Valley events, activities, entertainment, sports, and history. One of the High Desert's most historic sites has been acquired by the San Bernardino County Museum for future preservation. The Gold Rush era Oro Grande Cemetery, which dates back to 1852, is home to approximately 132 marked graves and several unmarked graves believed to belong to Native Americans. The cemetery is the oldest in San Bernardino County and is also designated a California Point of Historical Interest. The cemetery is overseen by a team of curators, including curators of history and anthropology, who will research, preserve, and interpret the site. Initial upgrades will include new interpretation and signage, which will engage visitors and increase understanding of the site's significance. In the center of the cemetery is a memorial for Lieutenant Manuel P. Rodriguez, who was killed while serving in the Philippines in World War II. His Purple Heart is on display at the Victor Valley Museum in Apple Valley. Open by appointment only, the Oro Grande Cemetery is located at 1313 Olive Street in Oro Grande. Contact the main museum at 909-798-8608 to schedule an appointment. Was there a ghost among the hosts haunting the set when Tales of the Frontier's Secrets was filmed at Kemper Campbell Ranch?
So the secrets here at Kemper Campbell Ranch are quite a few.
The house seems to have its ghosts and its spirits, or has this energy about it.
The grandmother's been seen here. She passed a long time ago.
She made it very clear that this is her house.
A member of the crew felt various feelings, a presence, something that was strange.
When episode Secrets, Scenes of Tales of the Frontier were filmed at Kemper Campbell Ranch, did Grandma Kemper Campbell and the ranch itself have some secrets of their own?
Kemper Campbell Ranch has quite a few secrets. Upon arrival here, I walked through the front door. I knew that the five of us that came through, we weren't alone at the time. We did a tour through a couple of the downstairs rooms, and I stopped Laura Campbell, the co-owner of the Campbell Ranch, who was giving us the tour. And I asked her, I actually interrupted her, and I said, Miss Campbell, let me ask you a question about this place. And she looked at me and she said, yes. I said, who's here? And she smiled and she knew what I was getting at. And she says, why? And I said, because I know we're not alone. And I said, it's nothing bad. I go, I feel peace. It's at peace what I feel. She told me a story about the grandmother. The grandmother's been seen here. She passed a long time ago, and I had a real peaceful feeling about that, but I knew that we weren't alone. There's a couple areas here that I can't go to. After I spoke with Miss Campbell, she took us upstairs to do a tour of the upstairs bedrooms that we're going to be shooting in, and I was drawn out onto this balcony that's sitting right up above us, and there's a little tiny door, and I was drawn to it, and I was drawn to it. And as I got closer to that door, I knew what I felt inside, and I couldn't go any further. I explained to some of the people that were there what I felt. I had told Miss Campbell the same thing. I said, this is what I'm feeling. It's not a good feeling like I felt downstairs. And she agreed, and she said, most definitely, there's a lot of people that say that.
On Victor Valley TV, 7 and 11 every morning.
They did open the door, people walked in, and I tried to get in to get into that room, and I just could not do it. There was something keeping me out of there.
The most challenging one for me was a scene we were shooting near the fireplace here at Kemper Campbell Ranch. It just, the house seems to have its ghosts and its spirits, or has this energy about it that, you know, there's no explanation for things like that. But that particular spot we were shooting in was so uncomfortable, you couldn't remember your lines, and it was so uncomfortable. I was so agitated when we finished that scene, and there was nothing to have agitated me. It was just, that was probably the one scene that that was the hardest scene, and I can't even tell you why.
As we walked up the stairs, I heard a crash, and I looked, and my makeup was on the ground, and my AD says, wow. He goes, I just got chills. He goes, I'm not scared. He goes, but I just got the chills. And as I got closer to the makeup bag, there was a very, very, very cool spot in this area that you can actually stick your hand in, feel it, and pull it away, and you feel the room temperature, and you go back in. I was amazed.
First of all, Michelle, do you believe in ghosts?
No, not really. I'm just telling you what happened.
Okay, folks, I'm going to take you into the back storeroom of the Kemper Campbell Ranch kitchen area. Yesterday, we made some provisions to have my craft services woman, Michelle Easterwood, stay the night here because we had a really early start today. She was here about 12:30 last night preparing today's meals in the kitchen when she heard a crash in the back room. She paid no attention to it. She came back in and tried to figure out what it was. If you come with me this way, what she ended up finding was her cleaning supplies bucket on the ground. Now, she ended up going back in the kitchen and dismissed this. Kind of weighed on her a little bit. She came back in and realized, had it fallen off of this stool, it would have been down here. It was actually out here, and all the supplies were away. So she ended up just cleaning everything up and went back to cooking. Now, if you come back with me this way, there was a Eubank coffee can sitting right here on top of this, okay, and this is the exact can. The can is empty, okay? It was sitting here. Michelle continued cooking, and all of a sudden she hears another crash and comes in here. Now, I want to show you something. This is where it was sitting. I'm going to go ahead and drop this and show you exactly what will happen to it. That's pretty much what it's going to do. It will fall and stay within this area. And I will do it one more time. When this morning, Michelle was explaining to me everything that happened. We found this coffee can approximately 3 feet away, sitting right here. Now, to show you what it would take to get that coffee can over there, I'm going to go ahead and give you a little sample. There's no way it's going to get from that point to that point without some force going across. She finally got spooked enough. She said that she felt kind of her welcome was worn out here.
I just kept saying that whatever it was not in the kitchen because it felt good there, and I had a good time, and it's a beautiful place, and I was really excited about spending the night, and all of a sudden everything was not okay.
It was almost like somebody was telling her, that's it, it's time to go. So she said, I'm going to start packing up, and she is speaking verbally. I'm going to start packing up, I'm cleaning up. She came here into the kitchen, she opened this door here, and again, everything is the way it was. She opens this door here, she goes to put a tray in, and she got scared to death because while she had her head in here, something smacked the back side of that door. She happened to be on the phone with her daughter because she was so spooked. She screamed. The daughter says, what's the matter? She says, that's it, I'm out of here. Left, didn't shut lights, just left. I woke up to a text this morning that said, the kitchen is definitely haunted. I wore out my welcome. I'm going back home. I will explain in the morning. And that's the story I got.
How did you feel with the third situation where there was the sound at the door?
Like I couldn't leave fast enough, and that I'd overstayed my welcome.
Okay, you've heard how various members of the staff, cast, and crew felt the presence of something supernatural or paranormal, and heard and saw the results of activities unexplained. But now we're going to show you additional evidence of those things of which we speak. The attic writer and producer Gary Lee Brooks enters in this photo. An instant later, another picture revealing a ghostly image over Gary's right shoulder and the bony hand and fingers moving toward his shoulder. This is one of the most interesting pictures. Look to the image in the upper left window pane. See a strong resemblance to the face and hand that seemed to appear in the attic.
So the secrets here at Kemper Campbell Ranch are quite a few.
We would have to admit that, as I think it was Shakespeare said, there are more things in heaven and earth, Horatio, than your philosophy has even dreamt of. And I think that Leastwise on this side of heaven, who knows?
Continuing from our Only Two Things Guaranteed file, our San Bernardino County tax collector is encouraging property owners to pay the first installment of their property taxes by the due date of Wednesday, November 1st. The last day to pay without incurring a 10% penalty is Monday, December 11th, 2023. The tax collector's office offers many convenient ways to pay, including online, by phone, by mail, and in person. Electronic payments are accepted online at www.mytaxcollector.com and by phone at 909-387-8308 or 760-241-8829 and can be made using a checking or savings account free of charge. Mailed payments should be sent to SBC Tax Collector at 268 West Hospitality Lane, 1st floor, San Bernardino, California, 92415. Only payments with a United States Postal Service postmark cancellation on or before December 1st, 2023 will be considered timely. In accordance with the Revenue and Taxation Code, the county tax collector currently requires taxpayers who make an aggregate payment of $50,000 or more per year to submit their payment by ACH, Automated Clearinghouse, credit, or wire transfer. For the county's bank account information, contact the tax collector at 909-387-8308 or email the following address. Brightline West's high-speed rail project will connect Las Vegas and Southern California with the first true high-speed passenger rail system in the nation. The 218-mile all-electric line includes a flagship station in Rancho Cucamonga, an Apple Valley inline station, and Hesperia commuter platform, as well as the Las Vegas station. The San Bernardino County Transportation Authority received a $25 million federal grant from the U.S. Department of Transportation to design and build the Apple Valley Station and Hesperia commuter platform. Since Apple Valley will be the first stop entering the Victor Valley from the north, the station and accompanying expansion will dramatically reshape the economic and business impact of North Apple Valley. According to Brightline officials, the project will generate more than 35,000 jobs during construction and more than 1,000 permanent jobs to operate and maintain the system.
It really brings science to our community.
It is this Da Vinci robotic surgical system being used by surgeons at Desert Valley Hospital. This cardiovascular surgeon demonstrates controlling 4 laparoscopic arms with pinpoint precision. Minimal invasion translates into reduced recovery time for the patient. Some who've had this surgery at Desert Valley Hospital have been out of the hospital the following day and back to work in a week.
It's the latest, greatest in technology with regards to surgery. It's the least invasive, and it has been shown with my cases especially that patients go home much sooner, less pain, less comorbidities, meaning less bleeding, less infections, and it's just really kind of a miracle for our area of GYN.
The nearly $2 million Da Vinci robotic system has been used by Desert Valley Hospital surgeons since July, with several heart surgeries among the nearly 3 dozen operations performed in the first 6 months.
The remarkable science that's behind this technology has been here for a number of years, and now it's embedded in our society, embedded in our community, and offering a quick way of having surgical procedures done in a safe manner that require a lot less hospitalization and bed days.
The Da Vinci robotic system provides single-site surgery with an extremely small incision through the belly button for a hysterectomy, gallbladder, or prostate surgery.
And it's really helping our community to get the surgical things that would maybe be done out of our area done in our area.
Terry Kurtz Online was brought to you by Down Home Grill in Victorville. Call 760-241-4663 for delivery, drive-through, curbside, or pickup. Down Home Grill, corner of Bear Valley Road and Ridgecrest Road in Victorville. Bid fast and last. World-class auctioneers. Valu Quality Truck Bodies. Family owned and operated locally since 1954. The Bradco Companies. The High Desert Mojave River Valley's longest standing commercial brokerage firm. We Got 'em Tees. Your headquarters for custom screen printing and mastercraft embroidery design. Silverwood. The developers of the Silverwood Master Planned Community support the events, youth activities, and programs of our High Desert Mojave River Valley communities.
Serious legal problems? Don't go it alone. Contact Wanzek Law Firm. Trial lawyers for serious problems.
And by the Holiday Inn, favored destination for travelers and visitors to the Victor Valley.
You know, Terry, this is almost monumental. I mean, when I think about, I've lived here a little bit over 35 years. I've known Tim Craig here for almost all of that.
I and a few other gentlemen ran for a board election this year. And we formed a group, not just a group of the people that were running, but we formed like an advisory group, which Joe was part of, Dennis Verhagen was part of, Dr. Patel was part of, and it was to try to bring together the issues that we wanted to deal with in the event that we were successful. We wanted to not just have problems, but solutions.
I was chairman of the finance committee for the association in 2005, 6, and 7. At that time, we had anywhere from 10 to 15 members on the board. We were very transparent. Our meetings were open to the public. There was nothing to hide. What I have found since that period of time is, I think, a lack of transparency.
The reason we're having kind of an urgent meeting is because of the things that we had noticed in our campaigning efforts and our ideas about what things could get better. There's been kind of a perfect storm that's come together of some elements that have put us into a pretty kind of scary situation, much more so than just a urgent situation. We have a budget issue, we have finance issues in general, we have reserves which have never been great, never been awful, and they're heading towards awful very quickly. And one of the reasons that's happening is from something that I think most people are not aware of, is an infrastructure problem with the lake. Everybody's familiar with the quality of the lake water or the health of the lake. We've been working on that for quite some time. And I think it's pretty much a known item. People know where we're at. Very few people know the degree that the infrastructure is crumbling around Spring Valley Lake. It's something that they've been working on, the association, in the background, kind of quietly, but never really getting their hands around the degree of the problem. So, but to talk about the first issue, we just recently passed a budget. This budget was not disclosed to the association before the day of the vote. Even on the day of the vote, it was not disclosed. We asked for copies of the budget that was being voted upon, and they were not available to us. All that was available was a projection of part of the budget, difficult to read, so no one really had a total idea. And you were allowed to make comments, but because it was a regular board meeting, the board had no obligation, nor did they respond to any questions that were asked. So we got up and we said our question, and then there'd be dead silence, and you would walk back to your chair. And not only weren't the questions answered, they don't even appear in the minutes of the meeting. So there's no record that we even asked those questions. And mind you, the minutes can be read forever, but there's probably only 35 or 40 people in the room, so those are the only ones that heard the questions. They were important questions. None of them were frivolous or ill-considered, and but they went nowhere. From that point on, there was discussion within the board about the vote. They increased the budget by quite a bit from where they had started that morning and voted upon it, and they ended up voting the maximum increase in the budget that's allowed. And that's a $1.2 million increase over last year's assessment, but it's actually a $2.2 million increase over last year's expenses. That may not sound consistent, and the reason is, last year we overassessed the community by almost $1 million. It's the largest overassessment we've had in a long time. They assessed way higher than we needed by it ended up being about $960,000. And usually, or what typically happens in the homeowners association when that happens, is that money is either refunded to the people that paid it pro rata, or it's applied to the coming year's budget. So it's the same as a refund because you're all sharing that money going into the till. This board 3 years ago decided that any excess funds would not be refunded or go towards the next year's budget, but they would be allowed to redirect it as they saw fit. Now, when I say redirect as they saw fit, it is for association activities. It's not, nobody's saying that they're redirecting it in something that's putting it in their pocket. But what it is happening is they're redirecting on activities that were never part of the budget, and they go into a fund. They go into our bank account. There's no accounting for the fund, and at some point in time, they usually say, "Oh, we decided we're going to spend it here, here, or here." Unfortunately, the places they say they're going to spend the excess fund are places that are already funded by the regular accounting and reserve system. So that money really doesn't fund those things. They're funded separately. That money kind of goes into a fund of extra cash that just grows on its own. So I had mentioned this to the board several times. This time I brought documentation to this meeting, said I thought it was illegal for them to not be returning the excess to the association. If they wanted to redirect it, they could do so, but they had to get at least a voice vote by the membership to approve that. I mentioned that, handed them the paperwork. They said, "Thank you very much." And then later on, when the budget was finalized, I was told they are still redirecting it as they see fit. The second issue, and believe it or not, this is more complicated in that most people have dealt with financials and budgets. Most people have not dealt with a reserve process, which is unique to homeowners associations. And basically, a reserve process is just a formal way to force an association to put aside funds for the big ticket items that are going to need to be replaced over the years. So if you know that you're going to have to replace a basketball court every 20 years and the cost will be $200,000, every year you put aside $10,000. So when that comes about, you've got the money. By the way, you also invest it, make a little bit more money than that. That's the whole idea of the reserve program. And our reserve program is very misunderstood because it's complicated, but basically there's a number called fully funded. And what that is it's a calculation of how much money should be in our reserve fund at that moment. If we had set aside all the right money in all the right increments, this is how much money should be there, here's how much is actually there, and the percent between the two is our fully funded number. We've been at about 50%, give or take a few percent, for the last 10 years, which is low in my opinion. Because it unfairly penalizes the people that are coming up. It means you haven't charged enough to the past. You're going to be having to charge more to the future. But 50% is what it's been. This year, it dropped under 30 for the first time to 28.6%. And that's a pretty remarkable drop, and that puts us into more of a risk category for a lot of things. For lenders or for other vendors that we deal with, we're now considered at risk because we look like we're low on the funds it takes to maintain the association. What's even worse than the percentage that we're at this year is the projection next year we're going to be at 6.4%, and the year after that we're going to be at 0.6%. Now remember, never been under 50. Usually have anywhere between 1.5 to 2.5 to 3 million in our reserve account at any given time in the last 10 years. That's dropping to 1.7 million this year. Next year it will be approximately 250,000, and then the year after that 15,000. And it only stays positive because the amount of money that we're having to put into the reserves is going up dramatically. It usually goes up 5% a year. It's going to go up 40% each year for the next 2 years just to keep us from going negative. And I would say the average association member does not know that, does not understand that, and does not realize how interlinked that is to some other decisions that have been made that have caused that to happen. Not the least of which is the infrastructure issue at the lake, which has two aspects of it. One is a disclosure aspect, meaning that people that have moved here, really in the last 20 years, should have known about it. It should have been something in the disclosure document, and they haven't. On top of that, the association's been aware of it since 1997. There was a court order that they were responsible for the infrastructure and the timetable and whatever program to put together. And as of this date, there is no program put together other than a Band-Aid stopgap approach. I'll give you an analogy. It's like finding out you've got cancer, and rather than going to the doctor and finding out what stage you're at, we immediately started treatment, even though we don't know whether we're stage 1, 2, 3, or 4. And that's what's been happening for years and years and years. We forced the association to get that assessment. They hired, at their choosing, they hired a professional organization to assess the condition of the lake, paid a lot of money to this group. They came back with some horrific numbers that said that the short-term costs could be between $8 and $30 million, and the long-term costs could be over $100 million. The association got this, and they immediately said, well, this can't be right. Now, if I went to a doctor and he said, you got stage 4, and I said, I feel too good, I can't have stage 4, this can't be right, what do? You get a second opinion. You don't just stick your head in the sand. We decided to stick our head in the sand for 3 more years and wait and see how things come out the next time we lower the lake. Even though the problems we have not only are bad, they are deteriorating at a worse and worse rate, where the amount of money it's going to take to repair it goes further and further up, causing more and more damage because of the delay.
Any concluding?
Well, there are 2 things. First, these are numbers that we didn't glean out of thin air. These are all based on association documents that when we're presenting this on Saturday morning, on November 4th, you'll see all the information, all gleaned from association documents. The other thing is, it was important to me that we share all of this with the board and not make this a gotcha for them where they haven't seen any of it. Because when we discussed doing this, I said, I don't want to just be planning our re-election campaign a year down the road. I want things to change now. So let's give the board the benefit of the doubt and see if we can bring them along and be our most convincing selves. And we have had some moderate gains on some peripheral issues. The bigger the issue, the more entrenched it seems. It's kind of baked into other things, and we haven't been able to penetrate. But I have put everything in front of the board that I'm presenting to you. They've seen it. No one's disagreed with the content or the interpretation. They just feel that the approach they're taking is sufficient, and it surely is not.
Terry, what I think Tim is saying, and I've seen this. Believe it or not, we helped form Spring Valley Concerned Property Owners, and for 11 years we had a great working relationship. And all of a sudden, when I started asking questions, the board, the general manager, decided to make it a personal issue. And they wouldn't respond, but then I would get these letters from Mr. Tinley. And Steve, I hope you watch this, because you know what we'll do this next time around. I will tell the board, and this new chapter in Spring Valley Lake is not personal, okay? It's factual, okay? I think the American public is tired of not hearing from their elected officials in Washington, from the state, whether it be the county or the city that they live in. So I think this is going to be an exercise where Tim has peeled back this onion, and I mean countless hours. And, he puts the information together, he goes to the board, and they just say, poo-poo, we don't have to do that. Well, they're not going to do that anymore, okay? Because the power of social media and the power of the video, Tim's looking at this thing, Ricky Zimmerman's looking at this thing, Dennis Verhagen, I'm looking at it. We have to do what's right for the association, now, not what's right for Tim or Joe.
Terry Kurtz Online was brought to you by Down Home Grill in Victorville on the corner of Bear Valley Road and Ridgecrest Road. Bid fast and last. World-class auctioneers. Zolu Quality Truck Body. Family owned and operated since 1954. The Bradco Companies, our area's longest standing full-service commercial brokerage firm. Iwanzak Law Firm. Trial lawyers for serious problems. We Got 'em Tees. Your headquarters for custom screen printing and mastercraft embroidery design. Silverwood. The developers of the Silverwood Master Plan community support the events, youth activities, and programs of our high desert Mojave River Valley communities. And by the Holiday Inn in Victorville. The Holiday Inn, conference and convention center for the high desert and destination of choice of visitors and travelers to the Victor Valley. That's a wrap on this edition of Terry Kurtz Online. On behalf of Victor Valley Television Productions, thank you for watching. We hope to see you again next time around.